She actually didn't lose the weight.
Is she gonna lose the weight, Charles?
Not in this episode, but she when she does.
Janine, I believe in you. You got this. I really love running. It's just something about running that really relaxes me, keeps me in shape, and keeps me energized throughout the whole day. I don't know if y'all have something like that. Another thing I really like to do is accomplish goals. Recently, I accomplished a goal related to running and a huge milestone. Oh, let me change real quick. Much better. One big goal I have is to run a marathon. Spoiler alert, I still haven't ran a marathon, but I'm halfway there. Let me give you some context. You see, I wasn't always into running. Growing up, I was the least athletic in my family. My two younger sisters are both volleyball captains, and my older brother, he was on the football team in high school. And me, I spent most of my free time, instead of going outside, indoors playing video games or doing homework. It wasn't until high school that I discovered running, and I fell in love with it ever since. It's ironic because I found it in class through PE, where one of our finals was to run a 5K, and I trained so hard just to get an A in that class. And it was great because I was getting so much more energy, and I ran a pretty fast 5K and I got an A in that class, so it was an awesome experience. And ever since then, I've just been wanting to increase goals and run even further and faster. So the next goal I made was to run a marathon. Yeah, it was a huge jump. When I set a goal, I try my very best to complete that goal. I do whatever it takes. And so I started training immediately. I started running outside the school, around our track, and basically anywhere and everywhere I could. I'd find trails around my neighborhood. I'd go to the park all the time. Anytime I could run, I'd go do it. I was well on my way to running this marathon. I was probably 6 months into training, and I was feeling great. I was in the best shape of my life. And then everything changed in the summer. I went on a trip to Colorado with some friends, and disaster struck. At the very end of the week, we went whitewater rafting, and everything was going fine on the trip. It wasn't until we decided to take a break from whitewater rafting to swim around in the river. It was boys being boys, and we weren't being very careful at all. We decided to see how high we can jump off some rocks. I just got really unlucky that day, and as I was jumping off a rock, I landed in the water, and it was like a very shallow end of the river, and I hit my knee right against the rock and left a huge gash and plenty of pain. Luckily, it was at the very end of the trip, and we were already on our way home, and yeah, I had to get some stitches after that, and that ended my training for the summer. Here's a picture I found of my knee on that fateful day. Let me see if you can see it. Those are the stitches in there. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. Left a nice long, not fun. So with that accident went all those months of training, because I was in so much pain in my knee. I could barely even walk. I was on crutches for about a week and a half. Once a month passed and I thought I was better, I tried to go run, and about maybe 1 mile into my run, just pain running through my leg. It was bad. The race was supposed to be in March, and I didn't make the cut because I didn't get strained anymore, and I was injured, and I just couldn't do it. And I thought that was the end of my journey to run a marathon. That is until this year. Very recently, well, in the past couple months, I've gotten back into running and I'm feeling great. It is amazing the comeback that I've made. So basically, this January, everyone usually sets goals for the year, and I had set a goal to run at least a half marathon. And I noticed, when will I do that? And that's when I realized that the marathon that I was planning to run was coming up in March again. There was no way I was going to train for a marathon in 2 months' time. I decided to train for a half marathon in 2 months' time. I knew it was going to take a lot of work, and it definitely did. This right here is what my schedule looked like during that month, and those are all the runs I was doing. So yeah, basically every single day, except maybe Sunday for rest, was dedicated to running. I went from running about 3 miles at the very beginning of the month to running 9 miles the week before the race day. So it took a lot to get to that point, but it was so worth it. So on race day, it was a brand new experience. I've never ran like a race like that, so it was a pretty awesome experience. I met a lot of interesting people there, saw a lot of interesting things, and made some very crucial mistakes also. I don't know if you can see it, here I am. This is me not stretching enough before the race and not going to use the restroom. Don't make that mistake. The first 2 miles were terrible. The first mile I had to pee really badly, and there was no porta potties for the first mile and a half. So I had to wait that long until I could pee. So I started running again after I peed, and I realized immediately that I did not stretch enough. My legs were already cramping. It was probably the worst 2 miles I've ever ran because my legs were cramping bad and I just couldn't take it. And so I kept stopping and walking. And it wasn't until about 2.5 miles in that they were handing out water and electrolytes. And I knew to drink a lot of water in the morning, but I did not think to drink some electrolytes, and I really should have, because that was probably the main reason I was cramping so bad and having a terrible time. As soon as I filled myself up with some electrolytes, I felt great, and I made sure to run slowly and not get too ahead of myself, just so I can, you know, work off this cramping feeling. And about a mile later, I was feeling so great and I was back in my usual running rhythm. So after that terrible start, I just took off. I went from doing probably 11-minute miles the first 2 or 3 miles to the very end where I was doing about 8-minute miles, and then at the very end, the last mile, I pretty much sprinted the whole way to the finish line. And it was great. I felt on top of my game. It was thanks to all the training I did, of course. If it weren't for all the hard work I put in, then I probably would not have finished that, because that was intense. Here's me at the very end of the race after I got my medal. Yeah, I was very proud of that. So this is why I say I'm halfway towards my goal, because I did a half marathon. Full marathon is next, believe me. I'm not sure when yet, but it's gonna happen. And that's just because that's the type of person I am. If I have a goal in my mind, I will do what it takes to get to that goal. So yeah, I will probably document that journey whenever it gets to that point. And hopefully I motivate some of you guys to set your own goals, or to just, you know, run more and be more active, because running, so many benefits to running. Doing any kind of exercise daily is so beneficial for you. Even like 30 to 60 minutes a day is life-changing. So go out there, guys, and be active, because your energy will be up throughout the day. You're gonna look better, you're gonna feel better, and you'll just be in a better mood all the time. At least that's the experience I had. So that's all I have for today, guys. Alright guys, I'll see y'all. Peace.